Hi guys, long time no see. We're back today with another bookish video. Today I'll just catch you up quickly on what I've been reading, and then I also do have a little stack of books to haul, so that will be today's video, just sort of business as usual. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first couple books I read on my Kobo e-reader. The first one is one of my most, not even one, my most anticipated book of the year. It's The Golden Raven by Nora Sakavic. I'm a huge All for the Game fan. It's my very favorite series of all time, and it always will be. And yeah, I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. No notes. I really, really need the third book. I love these people so much. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that because it's too close to my heart. I don't know how to talk about it. So anyways, really, really love this. 5 out of 5. And then I was kind of in a reading slump after this. So I read a book that's been on my shelves for a while. It's called Autumn's Tithe. I can't remember the author's name. Is it Hannah Parker? It should show on the book. But I had a special edition of this from the Bookish box, and I just hadn't read it. So I decided, it's an autumn sort of fairy book, and I tend to like those, so I just picked it up and started reading. I didn't know this, but it is actually the first in a trilogy. And basically it follows a girl who lives in like a mortal village, and every year the Lord of Autumn, I think, comes and picks a girl from the village and takes the girl back into the Fae realm, and no one really knows what happens to those girls once you cross over the bridge to get there. And we basically just follow our main girl as she her best friend was taken the year before, and she desperately wants to know what has happened to her best friend. They didn't part on good terms, so she ends up, I won't spoil anything, but she ends up in the Fae realm looking for her best friend, and just sort of the people and the Fae creatures she meets along the way. This was enjoyable. I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't particularly engaging. If I were to recommend an autumnal fairy book, I would probably recommend An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson over this one, but I didn't dislike it. It was a fun read. I'm still trying to decide if I want to continue with the series. I might check out the other 2 books from the library, because I did kind of like the squad that she ended up with, but the characters weren't especially our main character, she wasn't particularly engaging. I don't know. So we'll see if I continue on with that one, but I did read that recently. And then to further get me out of my reading slump, my book hangover, I have just now picked up The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune. This is T.J. Klune's most recent adult novel, and I am not that far into it, but I'm loving it so far. I'm having the best time. This is what I needed to get me out of my reading slump, or my reading hangover, I guess. So yeah, this book we follow a guy, I think he's 27, 28, his name's Nate, and he recently inherited his parents' cabin in Oregon, I think. Oregon or Washington, the Pacific Northwest. They died sort of a tragic, unusual death, and he wasn't on the best terms with them, so he's moving from Washington, D.C. over to this cabin just to kind of have a break where he can see what he wants to do with his life, because he's kind of in this in-between space, and he just wants to go there, collect his thoughts, decide what he wants to do with his life next. His family is very complicated in their dynamics, and yeah, But when he gets to this cabin, he finds that there are already people inhabiting his cabin that his parents left for him. It is a man and a 10-year-old girl who is very peculiar. Like, something seems a little different about her. And it follows their story together. It's sort of like a found family-esque trope. From what I surmise, I actually haven't gotten too far in to be able to tell, but I'm really liking this so far. It's really fun. I love people who are sort of thrown together and like don't really trust each other, but like sort of are working together on the same side. Just like people growing closer to each other, especially people who like have not the best pasts, you know. It's basically just like your found family trope. I love it every time, and this is no exception. So yeah, I love TJ Klune's writing. I haven't read any of his like House of the Cerulean Sea or like any of his other standalones, but I have read the Green Creek series by him, and I love it. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I have multiple editions. They're like down here. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying this so far. I'm glad I decided to pick it up. I feel like this is what I needed to recover emotionally from The Golden Raven. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. I have not finished it yet, so I don't have a final review, but it's looking good. It's looking real good. And now to get into the book haul portion of this video. So we'll start out with a book that I got from Barnes & Noble recently. I've been trying to do better again about not buying every book I want immediately when it comes out, because that really is my tendency. But I did get this book. It's called A Harvest of Hearts by Andrea Eames. It just says, in the beloved tradition of Howl's Moving Castle, a whimsical and unforgettable story of fantastic adventure, common sense, and the power of love to overcome the greatest of obstacles. So yeah, I know this has sort of Howl's Moving Castle vibes. That's really all I kind of need to know as a fantasy in the vein of Howl's Moving Castle. And I was like, say no more. I will try to read it. And Barnes & Noble has this sort of sprayed edge edition, which is really pretty. But yeah, I think we follow like a sort of clumsy protagonist, and like she ends up going to this enchanted house, and there's like she gets involved with like this sorcerer who's kind of goofy, kind of, you know, silky. If you've seen Howl's Moving Castle, this should all sound fairly familiar. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this book. There's a little cat on the bottom too, so we love to see it. The next book is a Fairy Loot book that I've been waiting so long for that I kind of forgot that I'd ordered it, but nonetheless very excited to get it. It is the Fairy Loot edition of Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. First off, this cover is absolutely stunning. I think this is After Blossom who did this art, but I'm not totally sure. I have read this book. I read it back in college, so I'd say like 2016, 2017-ish. And I really liked it. That's why I ended up buying this special edition of it. Actually, the regular cover is really pretty as well. But basically, this just follows the story of the sort of Russian folklore of Koshi the Deathless. I don't know exactly how to say his name. Hopefully that was somewhat in the realm of correct. But yeah, Koshi the Deathless and the girl who gets sort of caught up with him. I'm trying to remember her name. Is it Tatiana? Oh, Maria. Yeah, Maria. The little blurb just says, "Child of the Revolution, Maiden of Myth, Bride of Darkness." This has a lot of Russian folklore and, yeah, sort of religious influences, and it's really good. It's been, again, like almost a decade since I've read it, but it was really good, and I still would highly recommend it from what I remember. This is an adult fantasy. Don't go in expecting like your typical dark fantasy / romantasy like that would be published now. This is very heavy folklore based. It's just not really written in a modern way, I would say. So just, I would say, know what you're getting into. I think someone might see this cover and think like the Hurricane Wars or like A Court of Mist and Fury or something, and that's just like that's not this book. I would think more of along the lines of The Bear and the Nightingale. If you like The Bear and the Nightingale, I think you would like this. But yeah, here is what the end papers look like. Yeah, same on both sides. There's the really pretty sprayed pages. Here is the naked hardcover. And I didn't know this, I forgot that it's actually signed by the author, which is pretty cool. I know Catherine and Valente has written some middle grade as well. I have some of her books that I'm interested in reading, I just haven't yet. But yeah, I love this book. If you are an adult fantasy fan, I would highly recommend it. Okay, next we're going to look at the February Fairy Loot book of the month, so look away if you don't want to know what that is, but it is The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Emily Wenzel. This is her newest, I think it's adult fantasy book. I could be wrong. It's adult, I'm pretty sure. Emily Wenzel wrote the Blood Heir trilogy, and I read that and really liked it. She's also written another duology. Oh, what is it called? Like Flame Like Night or Silver Like Night. It's a long title, and I can't quite remember what it is, but I haven't read those yet, but I do own them. This is just her most recent book, and I loved her original debut trilogy so much that I've just been collecting her books, even if I haven't quite caught up with her backlist yet. But yeah, this is the Fairy Loot edition. It's really pretty. There's like a letter from the author bound into the book, and like stunning in papers. Like, look at that. So pretty. Like, what the heck. But yeah, I followed this author on like social media since her debut, and I just really like her. Oh my gosh, hold on. Here is the naked hardcover. This is so pretty. Look at that silver foiling. Absolutely stunning. Not only is that pretty, but I just saw the reverse dust jacket, also really stunning. I don't know who this artist is, but I really like their style. So that was this book. Really excited to get to this eventually. Next, we have a book from Goldsboro that I pre-ordered forever ago, and it is Grave Empire by Richard Swan. Richard Swan wrote I want to call it the Empire of the Wolf trilogy, but that could be wrong. Hopefully I'll have the correct title here if that's not it. And this is a book that's set in a new series, but is still in the same world as his first trilogy. But yeah, so set in the same world, which I always find that kind of fun. I don't really know much about what it's about. I think I read the synopsis once and then didn't look at it again. So you know me, I don't like to know. So this cover is really pretty, and the Goldsboro edition has these sprayed pages. It's really stunning. Let's see who's blurbed it. R.J. Barker, Sebastian de Castell, James Islington, and Nicholas Eames. So there's some big fantasy names. And I have copy 599 out of 750. So really excited to read that trilogy and get to this eventually. And the last book I have to show you is the first book. It's really exciting. The first book I have from my Broken Binding subscription. So Broken Binding is a fantasy subscription based in the UK. I was actually one of on the first list to be invited to join. Like when they were announcing that they were doing a fantasy subscription box, I immediately jumped on the waiting list. But when I saw like shipping pricing was just really expensive, and I already get like a couple book boxes from the UK, and like I just like can't afford all that. So I like decided not to join for a while. But recently I've been sort of skipping a lot of Illumicrate and Fairy Loot books. Illumicrate has a really good skipping policy, and Fairy Loot's is okay. I've been, getting by. I think Fairy Loot's is like 4 skips a year, or like a year from when you first subscribed. You can skip 4 months, I think. And sorry, I was just thinking. And Illumicrate is you can't go, I think it's like 8 months without skipping. Like you have to have at least one book per, I think it's like 7 or 8 months. So it's really not that bad. Illumicrate's is reasonable to me. Fairy Loot's is a little, but we move on. And same with, I do also subscribe to Owlcrate, and I don't think there's any limits on skip for those. So I really just get those if like it's a book that no one else is doing and I wanted to get it anyways. Sorry, just giving you a little mini book box rundown real quick. So since I've been skipping more, I've kind of allowed myself to talk myself into letting myself get a Broken Binding subscription, because some of the series they do I really want, and I live in fear. Okay, I live in fear of Broken Binding doing a because let me tell you how they're set up. So basically they do a trilogy or a series over, like, so the one that I just got is I think it's a trilogy, so it'll be from February to March to April, and then you can skip certain series. You only get to skip one series a year, but that's because the books are spread out. Like it's not, does that make sense? Like you're skipping 3 months. You're skipping a whole series, and not just 1 month, if that makes sense. Anyways, basically I've like allowed myself to subscribe and see if it holds out. But I was saying I live in fear of them doing the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden and missing out on those, because that is one of my top 3 favorite series of all time. And if I miss those, I think I would cry. see Fairy Loot has done copies, but I didn't love them. Illumicrate did copies, and they were okay. They were better. Elcrate has not done copies, but I just think Broken Binding would like blow it out of the park. Is that what you say? Knock it out of the park? Knock it out of the park. So I live in fear of them doing the Winter Night trilogy and then not getting them. Plus, I do end up ordering a lot of like of their books that are put on general sale. Like you've seen me do a lot of book hauls for Broken Binding, so I'm just decided to try it out, and like if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But all of that to say, I subscribed starting in February, and the first series that I was a part of is this series starting with The Mask of Mirrors. This is by M.A. Carrick. I've seen the series around. I never picked it up, but I was always a little curious. And anyways, this cover is so stunning. It's so pretty. Like the original cover is intriguing, but this one is just like Broken Binding just always knocks it out, or just always like does so well. Like their editions are so pretty. So I couldn't say no. I love their stenciled edges too. I feel like they usually do a good job of picking good stenciled edges. On the back it says, "Fortune favors the bold, magic favors the liars." They always do really pretty in-paper art as well, and they have a matching bookmark that goes with it. Here is the Naked book, The Mask of Mirrors. This is book 1. Oh, I think it's called like the Mask and the Rose series or something like that. Here is the in-paper art on the front. And here is the in-paper art on the back. Honestly, just like really pretty. To read you the blurb, it says, "Darkly magical and beautifully imagined, The Mask of Mirrors is the unmissable start of the Rook and the Rose trilogy." Okay, so that's what it's called, the Rook and the Rose trilogy. A rich and dazzling fantasy adventure in which a con artist, a vigilante, and a crime lord must unite to save their city. Like, I remember hearing that's what the synopsis was, and I was like, oh yes, that's very me. I can't wait to read this. So I was really excited that this was the first series, because it was one I was really interested in reading. And also I just read the author bio, and it's a pen name for like an author duo, which is always fun. And one of them is Marie Brennan, who wrote the Memoirs of Lady Trent series, which I have not read, but I've heard really good things about. So that just makes me even more excited to read this. I had no idea it was an author duo. That's always fun. I am so excited to start this series. Yes. I love stories that are like full of crime lords and like thieves, and I just love that setting. Six of Crows was like the beginning of my journey down that sort of subgenre. So. Yeah, anyways, that is all the books I have to show to you today. Sorry it's been a while since I've uploaded. But hoping to get more regular again. Let me know what you're reading, or if you've read any of these books. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Non-spoiler, of course. But yeah, thank you, and I will see you in my next video, hopefully. Thanks.